Hello, Atherton High School. So good to be speaking to you this week on several very important topics that are important to our school. The first of which is the discussion surrounding our school mascot. Now, you've probably seen it in the news that not only at Atherton, but around our district and around our country, we're really exploring issues regarding racial equity and the impact of decisions that we make regarding race and culture within our schools. And the issue of a rebel mascot is one of those that we really need to take time to reflect upon and learn about to understand what type of decisions we should be making and moving forward. Now, I'll be honest with you, I've actually had several principals reach out to me asking asking some lessons we might have learned from the national attention we received not too long ago regarding gender identity, um, and maybe how some of those decisions that we made and the process that we went through in making those decisions might apply to racial equity here in our schools in the present time. As you may recall, in 2014, Atherton was in the national news for uh, uh, being the first school in Kentucky to formalize a policy recognizing gender identity and providing transgender students the ability to use the facilities of their gender identity. The basis for that decision that we made was actually founded in us digging into the data, looking at what type of precedent had been established, and therefore what the best way to serve our students at that time. Because at the time we really didn't have much of a precedent established around that issue and around that topic. Very fortunately, regarding the issue of racial equity and race and culture in schools, there's an abundance of information and data for us to explore in making decisions moving forward. And I wanted to share a little bit about the research that we have done regarding the Atherton school mascot and the direction that we're taking regarding what the next steps would be. So, with that mental framework of how to best serve our students and our school, we actually have some direction through JCPS called the Racial Equity Assessment Protocol. These questions can be used to help guide our decision making regarding policies, practices, procedures, issues that our school is facing, and reflecting on how the decisions we make regarding these questions may inequitably affect any of our students, as well as trying to really anticipate any unintended consequences that may come from that decision making. And ultimately, what we want to do is to reduce factors that perpetuate or create racial inequities within our school. We have recognized for several years from our comprehensive school survey results that the there's a marked difference between the experience of our students of color with regards to a sense of belongingness with the school as well as overall satisfaction. And as we dig into the academic results, we are seeing with the ACT trends, even though we are improving the academic achievement of our African American students over time, there's still a gap between the achievement of our African Americans with their peers. And even looking at our freshman data, we see that there is a vast difference in the achievement of our students coming into our school when you break it down by race in both reading and math. And we're very proud to see that in even a very short period of time, from a August September window to a December January window, we're seeing very large leaps in academic achievement among our students. But we still have a long way to go in closing those achievement gaps. So we've had conversations. We've dug into the data. We've had conversations with our students and presentations by our students regarding their experience with schooling, so that we could reflect on how to improve upon that. our administration has been engaged in book studies on better understand how we can recognize the things that are happening within school in general and the things that we can do at Atherton specifically to improve the experience of our students of color. So when we put that knowledge and understanding against the backdrop of the JCPS racial equity assessment protocol, it brings us to many topics, but one of which is the Atherton Rebel mascot. And currently the Atherton Rebel mascot had the very few images that we have used. There's a costume, and from what I could find in the last 20 years, there's maybe two instances in our sports where we use like a patriot type of hat and head to represent the rebel. But for the most part, it's been the word rebels and the concept of rebelling that has really kind of driven our school mascot or nickname. So with the in the interest of understanding, where did the original Atherton Rebel idea come from? The legend has it that our founding principal, Miss Werner, who was principal of the original Atherton from 1924 to 1955. So she was the principal here for 30 years, and when Atherton was an all girls school, the legend has it that the girls wanted to play sports, but Miss Werner was resistant to allowing that because it wasn't very ladylike. And the girls persevered over the original resistance by the principal, and did get sports in the yearbooks and as an option for the girls. And she called them her little rebels because they rebelled against her. Now, I couldn't find that in the decades of yearbooks and aerials that we have stored in the school safe in the front office. The first reference to a rebel that I could find after spending hours flipping through the pages of the yearbooks as well as our school newspaper was a 1960 half page in a yearbook where there were the rebel rousers were listed, and that was the first time that I could find the word rebel in anything related to Atherton. Now that's 5 years after Miss Werner had left, and it also kind of led me to wonder, what's with the rebel rousers? Like, kind of where did that word come from? Where did that phrase come from? The first time you see any rebels in the yearbook in like an athletic uniform was the baseball team in 1963. And it appears that the baseball team is the one really for over the next decade where you actually see a mascot or a nickname on an athletic uniform. It didn't appear to be in any of the other sports or on any other schools in any of the pictures that I saw in the yearbook. So it may just be that the Rebels mascot or the Rebels nickname wasn't something that you used often back then in a way that would represent an athletic uniform. But back to the Rebel rousers, I did do a Google search to kind of understand, where might this word have come from, and it appears to have come from a mid 1950s band of Dwayne Eddy Rebel rousers. And there's if I did a little Google searching in here to better understand maybe where this word came from and how it ended up in an Atherton yearbook. So looking up the word rebel rouser, we see that it does have roots in more of a Confederate imagery, as well as it was used as a derogatory word. Now, I'm sure that's not the way it was being used in the yearbook. However, it does give us a little idea of maybe where that type of idea was coming from during that point in time in history. And actually, in doing some Google researching, I came across a dissertation just from last year by Patrick Caleb Smith from the University of Southern Mississippi, and it did give some really good information in reflecting on the historical perspectives of where the rebel mascot was, the popularity of the use of the rebel as a school mascot in secondary education. It really the rebel as a mascot appears to have gained a lot of popularity in the 50s, um, during a time, coincidentally or not, during a time of school integration efforts that were being addressed in the public sector. The link to this dissertation is on our school website. Now, searching through our yearbooks was a lot of fun, but it also kind of made me reflect on, it was a different time. Nearly 50 years ago, the expectations and the types of things that we now recognize as being inappropriate or offensive, or in this case, potentially dangerous, um, weren't necessarily seen that way back then. And continuing the research into the yearbooks, there's a cartoon-like character of a Confederate soldier, as well as the type of vehicle there that we saw similar to the rebel rouser imagery. Now, in the early 1970s, there was a news article about the Atherton rebel mascot moving from a Confederate imagery to a Revolutionary soldier imagery. It also appears that during this time there were the first African American administrators on Atherton staff, as well as several African American teachers. And we see the imagery go from that Confederate cartoon image to the Revolutionary war soldier that for what little physical imagery we have of a rebel is still used today or displayed today. Which brings us to, again, just searching around, where do we see and how do we experience the Atherton rebel within our school, on our school spirit wear, in our bumper stickers and magnets, and on our gym floor. There's the image that we clearly noted from that has been there since the early 1970s, and it really makes us reflect on what do we want the image of Atherton to be for people who come to our school, our students, our family members, our alumni, our community. How do we want people to experience what Atherton truly stands for? And uh, from the dissertation that I mentioned earlier, I found it very interesting he did an analysis of the use of the rebel mascot with the different imagery that exists across the country. And this was in 2019. And I highlighted here at the top of the circle, that's where Atherton would be. You kind of notice in this whole area of the southeast, the preponderance of the Confederate image when the word rebel and the mascot rebel is being used. So as we look to Atherton High School 2020, who we are, where we're going with the renovations across our school, as well as reimagining how do we want to convey to the future students of the school and our community who Atherton is and what we represent. And it reminds me of a conversation that I had with our Black Student Union officers over the summer, where they challenged this administration to live up to our school motto of what you do makes a difference. And as we address the next steps of our school mascot, I want people to know we are Atherton. We support one another. We rebel against hate and oppression. We defend civil liberties and constitutional rights, and we will assure those rights are applied to everyone. We are stronger as one family with many faces. We are stronger when we define success together and celebrate that together. We are stronger when each of us individually and all of us collectively recognize how we need to grow and improve. And we are stronger when we listen to one another, we learn from one another, and lead honorably within our realm of influence. What we do does make a difference. And what we do with what we know about our past and what we have in our present makes a difference for our future. Thank you all so much for listening to this. I encourage you, if you want to visit our website, if you'd like to see the Site-Based Decision Making Council discussion on this topic from October 6th, and also to read on the topic of the Rebel mascot as a high school mascot through the dissertation that I have posted. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. And remember, what you do makes a difference.